Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, a copyrighted edition for our video channel. Thank you for being here. I am very grateful, and you are very kind to visit. We're still on the Amnesia series. Our view numbers are declining rapidly, and I can tell you that myself and the staff are absolutely befuddled. And I'm not trying to push my beliefs on you, but I honestly think the Amnesia series is as compelling as the Trucker series. And I can't understand the sudden decline in viewership. I'm stunned. We're all stunned. And not sure what to make of it, but obviously we can't last long here with a declining viewership, so we're gonna have to do something. Missing 411, how it applies to amnesia people. So first of all, if you've read the books or you watch the movies, you know that there are 16 countries besides the United States that we've documented missing people that match the 411 profile. It's a worldwide issue, and that takes away a lot of the air in people's tires when they start to make claims that it might be something else other than maybe what we insinuated in Missing 411, the UFO connection. Honestly, I didn't have a duck in the fight or a dog in the fight when we started this long process. And you got to follow the evidence. And that's one thing we're sticklers about, following the evidence. There's a lot of people out there these days, they want to do one or two things. They want to attack me or they want to copy me. I know that there's already people that have a Trucker series going on their channel since I put up my Trucker series. Now, are they going to put up an Amnesia series? The best thing you could do if you see this is just go up and put on a link for all my videos at the CanAm Missing Project and just keep doing it. I mean, they're going to probably take them down, but eventually that would help us. International issue. What do I mean by that? I mean the cases that I've written about in other countries are cookie cutter to the cases in the US and Canada that I've written about. And when we started the project, we were looking just at the Canada cases and the US cases. It's all one continent. Figured, hey, there's no doubt they're going to be the same. But when you cross large bodies of water and the same thing is happening, can't ignore that. There's too much there to start pointing in specific directions, and you're going to see why. Now I want to go back into the 1930s for a second. We're all used to the instantaneous transmission of news. If something happened in Kuwait or Iran, Iraq, we'd know about it in minutes. It's just the way the internet works, and we're spoiled. If you look back at 1930s, news didn't travel real fast. Sometimes it was weeks to get news from Australia, New Zealand, get it back here to the States. It's just the way it was. And it wasn't real thorough, wasn't real concise, and many newspapers didn't even carry stories that was overseas. Keep that in the back of your mind. Today, many of you are interested in people of religion, people in the military. I often get asked, do you have people in the military on duty that disappear? Pay attention today. Please pay close attention today. The first case, it involves a man who's a chief petty officer named A.E. King, 43 years old, went missing March 10th, 1937 at 6 a.m. He was married. He's living in Melbourne, Australia. He was employed by the Australian Navy as a chief petty officer, and he was assigned to the port of Melbourne. He was a man of extreme routine, and he was physically fit. Melbourne, located at the far southeast side of Australia. Over the years, I've documented so many cases off the eastern side and the southeastern side of Australia, I've lost count how many. One of the most famous cases I ever wrote about involved a young man who disappeared over the waters off of southeast Australia, flying a plane and seeing a UFO and transmitting that he saw the UFO, disappeared and was never found. Just the facts. Now, A.E. King, every morning he'd get up really early before he had to go to work, walk down to the ocean, and take his morning swim. Every morning. Well, on March 10th, he got up early just like he always does, grabbed his clothes, grabbed his bathing suit, went down to the water and walked into a changing shed that they have there at the beach. And he'd take about a 30-minute swim. Afterwards, he'd get out, change, put his clothes, swimsuit in a bag, and he would come home, change into his clothes for work, and leave. Well, he left home at 6 with his swimsuit. He didn't come back. Wife started to get nervous. So she called Melbourne police, explained where her husband had went, and asked them to check on the shed. And they did. Police found his clothes neatly folded, that's what it said, in the changing shed. And here's the kicker, folks. Pay close attention. They said that there were distinct footprints leaving the shed and going to the bay water. But they searched all along that bank and they couldn't find any prints coming from the water back to the shed. And as they were searching for A.E. King, the officers stated that they saw 3 large sharks near the water surface just offshore. And they called for their marine unit to go out and search and see if they could find a body, because they thought the King got eaten by sharks. One of the articles even said that when the police were out, they shot one of the sharks because it was in too close. But they didn't find any human body. But they searched all day. At the end of the day, they gave a press statement that all of the indications were King went into the water, he didn't come out of the water, and he was probably attacked by a shark and eaten. All right, case closed. Poor Mrs. King. What is she going to think? Well, when you have Marine officers that do this kind of thing routinely, and on this day, they see 3 large sharks just offshore, I would say that's pretty conclusive. End of the story, go home. One man's gone. But hold your taters. The story's not over. This happened on March 10th. March 11th, the very next day, 200 miles northeast of Melbourne, in a very remote region north of Alpine National Park, a man wanders into the Albury police station. They stated he was incoherent, unable to explain anything about himself, how he got there, who he was, anything. So let's go through this. King was assigned by the Navy to the port of Melbourne. He went swimming in the bay at Melbourne. He's found a day later and 202 miles away in Albury. Now, it's a 1-hour flight, costs $375, or it's about a 3.5-hour drive. Here's their national park. Here's Albury. Okay, got it? Now, this whole area right through here and going north up towards Sydney and Brisbane, tons of disappearances all up through here. And the weird thing, the far west coast of Australia, hardly any disappearances. Just saying. The police noted that King was fully dressed, and he had some paperwork in his pocket that led them to believe he was associated with the Navy. They never stated what the paperwork was, but the police believed that he was from the area and probably from Melbourne. So what they did is they call the Melbourne Naval Police, and they explain what they have. They say, yeah, we are missing one man, and they give a description. They give the description of Petty Officer King. And the police say, yeah, I think we've got that guy. But I'm not sure because we can't get any answers out of him. And he's not being evasive, he's being helpful. They said, hey, don't worry, we're going to send a couple of guys out from our police to pick him up. Okay. So the police are questioning him there while the press is there, the local press. And one thing they ask him is they said, do you have any knowledge about sharks? And they said immediately when the statement was over, he started sobbing uncontrollably. And at that point, they thought his disappearance has got to have something to do with the sharks that were in that bay. That's what they thought. Well, he didn't remember anything about the beach that he disappeared at. He didn't remember anything about being married. The police asked him how he made it 200 miles to where they're located. He said, I have no idea. Well, within hours, 3.5, 4 hours, the naval police arrived and they picked up A.E. King and they took him back to Melbourne to the Naval Hospital for treatment. Does this case surprise me? Yes and no. This case, I'm going to withhold comment on until you hear the next case. And then I'm going to ask you the same question that I just posed to myself. Now, in this case I just read you, a petty officer in the Australian Navy. Active duty. 43 years old. The year this happened, 1937. The next case involves a man named Thomas Shellnut, 26 years old. King was 43 years old. He went missing July 25th, 1931. He was engaged to a woman in Livermore, California. He was a petty officer in the U.S. Navy serving on the USS Ortolan AM-45, a minesweeper assigned to San Diego, California. Thomas was born and raised in Atlanta. He joined the Navy in 1927, fulfilled his 4-year commitment that year in 1931, was invited to re-enlist for 2 more years. He did. He was considered very trustworthy, a great sailor, someone they wanted to have around. Fits the mold to everything we talk about. Well, on June 29th, 1931, Thomas was excited about his engagement to this woman. He went in and he cashed a life insurance policy he had so it could pay for the marriage and their home. Well, soon after that, he got beat up badly in San Diego. Police investigated and were still investigating. July 25th, 1931, noon. Men on the Ortolan were given temporary leave. Ship had to be in for maintenance. Thomas told the other sailors that he was going to go into Mission Bay and go swimming. This was their home, so they knew the area really well. If you've never been to Mission Bay, oh my gosh, it's absolutely beautiful. The water in San Diego is warmer than the water up in Northern California. It's clean, it's nice. It's just a great place to go to the beach. Do I understand why he did? Absolutely. So he goes to Mission Bay. Witnesses there say that Thomas went into a changing room. No, I'm not misreading this. I am reading the correct profile. Hold on. He went into a changing room, changed into his bathing suit, and came out in a swimsuit. He walked over to the waves in the ocean and he jumped in. Witnesses said they didn't see him come out. Take a deep breath. Wow. Well, later that night, when Thomas didn't report back to his ship, his friends knew what he told them that he was going to do, and so they called the police. Police went out. They found Thomas's clothes in the changing shed. Yeah. I know you're going, Dave, this is too weird. Yes, it is very weird. Now, that was July 25th, 1931. December 1931, a naval court determined that Thomas died by drowning. His name was removed from all active naval rolls. And they specifically stated that all of his personal effects were going to get shipped back to his family in Atlanta. Now, you're the family. That's pretty much a determination Thomas is by. You know, have a ceremony. Remember the good things about your son, and he's gone. For a naval court to rule that, they had to have a significant amount of evidence. And I'm sure they did. So, you have a man from Atlanta that disappears in San Diego while a ship is on leave. Got it. Now, the name of the ship, the Ortolan, there was a second ship later, much later, decades later. It's not the same Ortolan. You have to really do some research to find the minesweeper, the Ortolan. It looks, oh, I know. Hold your taters. I have it in a picture. There's the Ortolan. And this is the ship that Thomas served on. And that's the one that was docked and they were on shore leave. Okay? So, May 21st, 1933. So, almost 2 years after he disappears, Thomas had an uncle named A.B. Shellnut, who had always lived in Atlanta. And until just recently, just within the last year, he moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now, if you follow the Amnesia and the Trucker series, Colorado Springs is making its appearance again. Out of all the cities in the U.S., Colorado Springs again. So, AB is walking through the downtown area of Colorado Springs, and he sees a man exit a store, and he did a triple take. And he said it looked like his nephew, Thomas. AB stops, turns around, runs up, touches the man on the shoulder, and says, "Hey, are you Tommy Shellnut?" The man responded, "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't know who I am." And Mr. AB Shellnut goes, "Well, what do you mean you don't know who you are?" The man who he's talking to tells an amazing story of waking up 2 months ago in San Francisco. Well, San Francisco is about 8 hours north of San Diego driving time. Said he woke up in San Francisco and he had been wandering around different cities trying to understand who he was. What? Well, AB talked to him on the sidewalk and says, "I think I can help you. I think I actually know you. Would you mind coming to my house? It's not that far away, and I'll feed you and I'll help you." This man said, "Sure." So he takes him to his home, and AB has 2 sons, and they're Thomas's nephews, or his cousins. And he immediately walks in the house, and his family is dumbfounded. They're looking at this man, they're saying, "Oh my gosh, it's Tommy Shellnut, who's supposed to be dead." Everyone recognized him. A couple of days go by, still doesn't remember anything. And AB Shellnut asked Thomas if he would go with him down to a naval recruiting center and get fingerprinted, and let's see if the fingerprints come back to who I think you are. Thomas says, "Sure, why not?" So they go to a naval recruiting center, and he's fingerprinted. And those fingerprints are sent to Washington, D.C. Then it's a waiting game. And the uncle had already called his parents. They couldn't believe it. Nobody could believe it. 2 years. No, can you imagine? I mean, I can't. So, June 6th, about a month after all of this happened in Colorado Springs, the Naval Department comes back and says, "That's Tommy Shellnut." And the Navy said that we will come out and pick him up and take him to our hospital for treatment. And we recognize that he is ours, and it is our responsibility to get him better. Wow. That's impressive in my book. So they came out, they got Tommy, and they put him in a naval hospital. And here's the part that's unbelievable. Tommy was in that naval hospital for a year getting treatment. And after almost a year, he and the hospital made a statement that he was now nearly fully recovered. And he was given a disability discharge by the Navy. Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, by a long shot. But I do believe that our military recognized something very unusual happened to one of their sailors. And I believe that they studied him intensely for that year to understand what was happening. Because while I have just been trying to investigate this with no budget, with no real professional help, with no national databases, I've slowly put some pieces together. Now, the Navy, in their huge budgets and big wisdom, I'm sure we're putting a lot more of these cases together than what we have. Now, our Navy has communication with our friends throughout the world, other navies. Now, if they called or teletyped or whatever they did to the Australian Navy and they gave him Thomas's case profile of what happened to him, do you think maybe they said, wow, we have a case just like that? Happened 6 years ago. Yeah. Now, Tommy Shellnut's case was 1931. King happened in 1937. So it happened 6 years after Shellnut. I don't think that immediately afterwards they would start doing this, but it takes 8 or 9 years, the way the military works, to put a case together. That's how slow they are. And it would have been at about that time where they had a huge case file of similar incidents that they would have gone, just like I've done, around the world looking for similarities. Now, I've stated this before. If you look at the world timeline of unusual events, there were a lot of things that happened between 1941 and 1948 in the world that really shook us up. And I mean paranormal, unusual events. Why was that happening then? Because if you look through the 30s, there are a lot of these type of events that I just spoke to you about, and I've spoken to you about through the whole Amnesia series and Trucker series. Now, the reason I put these two cases next to each other to show you is because I think almost everybody, maybe not everyone, but I'm hoping almost everyone, can see that these are almost cookie cutter cases to each other. Can you see that? Now, do I believe that Petty Officer King in Australia ever knew about the Tommy Shellnut case? No. No. He never would have known about it. It was a local case, a local issue in San Diego. I don't understand why these type of amnesia cases have never gotten the huge publicity that they should be getting. Because when you put these type of cases next to each other that I did just now, I don't even think happenstance or coincidence could explain the similarities. It's my own personal opinion. There has to be more to it than just that. Both were white males, 26 to 43 years old, both in excellent health, both active duty. I gotta tell you, I do believe that the military knows what's going on. I think our government knew what was going on. And I still think they do. But as with everything in our military, it's always a big secret, and they don't want you to know what's going on. Now, I don't know why YouTube has shut down my viewers. Maybe it's the subject matter. I don't know. But I find it strange. And I appreciate you coming out and watching us and supporting us and sharing these on your social media. You're greatly appreciated. And remember, this is the kindness revolution. We need to be kind to one another. It doesn't cost anything. Please, please, Look at our website. Our online store is NA, like North America, nabigfootsearch.com. Go to the online store. I'm still signing posters. You want a poster? I'll sign one for you, get it out to you. And our books. And I'm going to be making an appearance at Phoenix MUFON. If you Google Phoenix MUFON, I'm going to be making an appearance there in February. And I'm going to be talking about some things that'll blow your socks off. And last time I spoke there, we sold out the house. Look on their website. No advanced ticket sales, but just show up there early. You'll probably get in. Capacity of the room was like 230. We've sold it out the last 2 times we've been there. Hope to see you there. I will have some books with me and hope to shake your hand and say hello. Thanks again. Paulides out.